Hello, and welcome back to Cozy with Chelsea. I am Chelsea, your host, and today we are doing a podcast, I guess, about love. And my special guest today is my now husband, Phil.
Hi.
So, I'm actually going to do an episode on how I manifested my partner. So, that will either be before or after this episode. But today we prepared a few questions to answer, and we both answered them. And now we're going to talk about it live on this podcast. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. So, the first question that we prepared is, what were you looking for in a relationship when we met? Do you want me to go first? Or...
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I went into looking for a relationship with an open mind, but I had certain expectations that had to be met in order for me to consider dating. I knew that I was looking for something serious. I wasn't looking for a fling, and I wasn't going to waste my time dating someone that I knew there wasn't going to be a future with. I was looking for someone who is just as committed to themselves as they were to their partner.
That's great. Okay. Well, I have a long list of what I was looking for. But I actually used, we should say that we got married last week.
Yeah.
So
We got married on Saturday, a week ago from today.
1 week ago we got married, and I'm not going to read my entire vows because part of my vows was a journal entry that I wrote about a week before I met Phil, but it was a very long list of what I was looking for in a partner. So that's very detailed, but the Cliff Notes version is that I was looking for an overall good person and someone who is really caring and empathetic and honest and a good communicator, which you're all of those things. There were very specific things that I was looking for, which one of them I wrote down was that he's a family man, because I always had a dream of like entering into a very large family, and I ended up getting that one for sure. Yeah, and I also was looking for someone that would be a good dad, and he already is a good dad. So
Thank you.
that was everything I was looking for. Next question is, when did you know I was the one for you?
Well, even in the beginning, our conversation through text was very smooth and flowing, and I could tell that just through the text we would have great conversations. I felt very connected through even the most basic form of communication. There was the first couple dates that were very lovely, and we talked and laughed the whole time, and it just flew by so fast. And after every conversation on the phone, we started FaceTiming, we started talking on the phone all the time, and every one of those text messages, phone calls, FaceTimes, first couple dates, I just wanted more and more. I couldn't get enough of our conversation. And then there was the third date when I took you to the baseball game. And there was a moment when I was sitting there, we were just laughing, having good conversation, watching the game. We started to sit a little bit closer. I think I put my hand on your leg at some point, and I was nervous, but there was a moment when I was thinking to myself that I could picture myself doing this for forever. And I was just in that moment thinking about Chelsea and thinking about the time that we've spent together and how great it's been, and then thinking to the future and how awesome that it would be to continue doing things like this. And then there was a bet. I had thought of a bet. There was a batter that was coming up to bat, and I thought that I could make a bet just for fun. When the batter came up to bat, the bet was going to be if he hit a home run, then I won the bet. And if he didn't, then Chelsea won the bet. I wanted to bet a kiss, but I chickened out.
Yeah,
And
I also wanted you to bet that.
But I chickened out, and instead, I think our bet was that whoever won, the other person had to make him dinner. I think that was what we had settled on. And of course, the first pitch of the at bat, the player smacks a home run, and then the opportunity that I had was lost in that moment. But I felt like that was almost the turning point in the relationship where you wanted more and I wanted more. And I eventually did get that first kiss, but ever since that day was when I knew that Chelsea was the one for me.
Yeah. I did wait until the third date to do the kiss.
Yeah.
But I actually liked, I think, that you offered to cook dinner instead of a kiss because it was more romantic.
And also, a first kiss doesn't guarantee a fourth date, but if I were to
Yeah.
make dinner, then that would guarantee me to see you again.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it was a safe bet.
Yeah, and it made me realize that you wanted to go on another date with me.
Yes, I very much did.
And then I eventually kissed you.
Yeah.
So it worked out. Yeah, we FaceTimed a lot in the beginning. A
Yeah.
lot. A lot of FaceTiming. Even though you live like 10 minutes from me.
Yeah.
Well, mine is also the third date. So that is when I knew that he was the one for me. And it's funny because I have different moments. Well, I did have the home run as one of the moments because that was pretty special. It made me feel like I was in a rom-com movie. But there was a moment we got some food before the game, and I don't know. At some point, I must have told you I liked ranch. And I ordered, I don't even remember what I ordered.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but I know that I needed ranch. And Phil made sure that I had an extra side of ranch. And I was like, okay, I'm going to marry him. But it was just that you were there, really thoughtful, really, is what it was. And the game was special, and it felt like I was in a movie. And then at the end of the date, we were sitting in your car because what did you say? You said that to let mine like warm up or something.
It was a very cold evening.
It was like the perfect weather. And
Yeah, it was not that cold. It was just an excuse.
It was not cold. But you were like, if you want to start your car and let it run for a little bit, and then you can hang out in my car until it's ready.
Yeah, that was one of the moments that I didn't want the date to end.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to spend a few extra moments, bonus time, if I could.
Yeah. But it was when we were in your car that Zach Bryan was playing on the radio. And then you asked me if I wanted to go with you to a Zach Bryan concert, which was just another way of him kind of like, well, a way of you. You're right here sitting next to me, but a way that you were showing to me that you wanted to see me for a while because the concert wasn't for a few months. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, he must like me somewhat. But yeah, I don't know. That date was really special. And I drove home. I remember being grateful for even just having that one date. And now I get to have a lifetime with you. The next question is, what's your version of how we met? So,
Like a lot of couples, we met online, and the first thing that Chelsea asked me was, is it okay if she was a Packers fan? Because I was a diehard Bears fan. And being a Bears fan is very tough. So
yeah, because they suck.
Okay. So anyways, the conversation just evolved from there, and we had good banter, and we talked about sports and sports teams where we grew up, and the conversation just kept getting more and more in depth, and the more that I learned about Chelsea, the more that I just wanted to keep talking. So that is the version of my version of how we met.
Well, yeah, we did meet on Hinge. So it's, It's not the most romantic initial part. The rest is really romantic. But we did meet on Hinge. I remember matching with him because I thought he looked normal and not crazy because he had no offense, but he had some really bad pictures. So, I mean, not that you looked bad, but they were, I don't know, there was one picture of him like you were out in nature or something and you had like sunglasses on and couldn't see your face at all. And I was like, yeah, that's the one. But we did meet on Hinge and he was in Texas at the time and we were just talking a lot before we actually met. But I remember thinking how well you communicated even over text and you were really honest with me about your situation and we both, threw out our own things that we wanted the other person to know right away, and I think that was a green flag for sure. I mean, like you said, we just talked a lot and everything flowed really naturally, and I wanted to meet you in person. I remember you sent me like a video of a baseball game you were at, and I thought that was really cute for some reason.
Yeah, I actually went with my friend Luke, and I wasn't going to even look for anybody, and he sort of convinced me to download a dating app, and I was in Texas for training at the time, and I matched with Chelsea, and she's the only one that I talked to. And then
Good.
yeah, she was the only one that I matched with and had a conversation with that I wanted to keep going. And then once we shared our phone numbers, then that was it from there. I was just constantly on my phone texting her. And then it was about a week or so I had left in Texas, and we had planned the first date right when I got back.
Yeah, we did. We had fajitas. Oh, wait, that might be a spoiler. Okay. Next question is what was your first impression of me?
This is the first impression, like on our first date.
Yeah.
Well, I had made reservations, and I was standing outside, and I saw you drive by in the car, and I was actually pretty calm until that point. But as soon as you walked up to me, and my first impression was that you were very beautiful, and you had a nice, gentle smile. And although I was very nervous, we had really good conversation. And I thought that impression of you having to go on a first date and be that nervous, and I was probably equally as nervous as you, and the way that our conversation flowed, and I did eat like a bird. I had like one fajita, but the time flew by so fast, and it was 2 hours gone just like that. And I think that the first impression I had was just that you seemed very nice and kind and beautiful, and I wanted to keep talking to you.
Yeah. I was really nervous before showing up. So I'm a nervous person, but especially for a situation like that. But I remember driving up and I remember seeing you standing outside the restaurant. And then I thought, oh God, he's cute. And then I was even like way, 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 way more nervous. And I was pretty nervous the entire time. So I don't know if I came off that way, but I was nervous. But we had really good conversation and I thought you were just very nice. I did think that you didn't eat much. And then I only ate one fajita because you only ate one fajita. But I thought you were very nice and just wanted to get to know you more. But I was very nervous that day. This question is, what moment made you realize that this was different?
What moment made me realize this relationship was different? So I think that every door that we opened in our conversation led down a path that opened another door, and the conversation that we have, every layer that we got into talking, it felt right, and it was so simple but also so complex. It was like the more that we learned about each other, the more I felt connected to you. There was just this connection that we had, and it sounds cheesy, but we had this spark, and it was just the way we communicated and the way that we interacted with each other. It felt so natural and like we belonged next to each other.
I would agree with all of that. And I don't know, I always go back to the third date because that was really special. But I don't know, there were a lot of moments. I mean, like you said, it just felt right. And the longer that we spent together, the more we had in common. And you just treated me so well, and you still do. And he would open doors for me. I don't know, he's a little old school romantic. It's like dating a guy from the 20s, but in a very good way, in the best way. But he would hold my chair out for me at every restaurant. And every time he would pull the chair out, I thought it was for himself. so, so I would always sit in a different chair. And then he'd be like, I'm pulling it out for you. I don't know if that's what made me realize the relationship was different, but I think it's just saying that overall you're a very thoughtful and kind and very patient person. And it's really hard to describe. It just feels different. It feels different than anything I've ever felt before. I feel safe with you and comfortable, and I feel like I can be myself 100% of the time. Okay. I'm going to cry now. Okay. Yeah. Good to move on to the next one. I wanted to talk about growth. So, how do you think that we've grown individually and as a couple?
For me, individually, I feel like I've grown by me being more confident in who I am as a person. Chelsea loves me for who I am, and that's helped me gain confidence in many ways, even in areas outside of our relationship. In my professional work environment, being more confident in who I am with my family, and I no longer care what people think of me. And I think it's because I feel so comfortable being myself around you. And I know that I'm a really great person, but it doesn't always translate in the way that I present myself. And I feel like the confidence that I've gained individually has helped me in all the aspects of my life. And I feel safe with you, and that could be as goofy or quirky or funny as I want to be. And then growing as a couple, I feel like we've always had a really good way of communicating, and it's felt so natural since the beginning. But we communicate very well, and that's always something that we've worked on together. We won't hesitate to pause and focus on a problem or a solution or a plan. And it's something that we already did very well. But as things happen in life, we've grown to appreciate and continually improve our communication. And I think that that's something that can always be worked on. And as our relationship grows, I think that so will our ability to communicate, whether it's something fun to plan or there's an issue we need to figure out.
Perfect. I would agree with you on the communication piece, and that is part of mine too. But individually, well, I think that I've learned to be a little bit more patient because I see the patience that you have for me and for your family and just in general. And it's something that I really admire about you because I am not a patient person. And I think it's been a good lesson for me to learn. I did joke when I first met you. I was like, oh, this is a lesson to slow down. But I think I've grown in that way, just myself. And I think that I will continue to learn more and more about that as we spend time together. But I did have that as a couple. I think that our communication I mean, we always communicated well, but I think no matter what, especially with like, I mean, you're relatively new in my life, you know, compared to the span of my lifetime. And we have to get to know each other and learn how to communicate with each other. And I think that we just do that really well. I think that I have learned how to communicate with you and you with me. And I try to really, really listen to you when you're speaking to me, even though I might not always do it, but I really try. And I think we've grown a lot in that way. And I think that we also have really learned how to work as a team, which I think is important because we are a team. It's us. It's us. I was going to say us against the world, but it sounds kind of scary. But we're together. We are a team. We make decisions together. We, determine how to move forward together. And that's not something that I've ever had before. So we've certainly grown in those ways. If you would agree.
Yes, I agree.
So that's how we have grown. And then we can talk about, well, we're already in the next step, but that's marriage. So this one is, what are you most looking forward to about marriage? We're 1 week in.
1 weekend.
Yep.
The what I'm looking forward to most about marriage, well, Chelsea is everything to me. She's my best friend. She's my partner, my teammate, my coach, and now my wife. And I'm looking forward to spending my life with her, including all of the ups and downs that life can bring. And I think for me, marriage is about having a partner that no matter what's happening, no matter what's going on, you have someone to talk to, someone to lean on, someone to celebrate with. And I think that that's the most exciting thing that I'm looking forward to in our marriage.
It's lovely. I had that I'm looking forward to continuing to grow together because I know that we will. Whatever that means, I don't know at this exact moment, but if it means growing our family, if it means navigating career transitions or whatever it is, I'm excited to see what we'll do because I think no matter what, it'll be fun with you. And also, I'm excited to combine our car insurance. And yeah, I get some family plan discounts.
So bundling and saving is what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, any fears or hesitations about this next step?
I don't feel fear in this next step. Sure, there are things that I know will be stressful and there will be challenges to come, but I feel that together, you and I will be able to overcome obstacles that are thrown in our path. I don't fear them, but I know that they will come eventually. But I feel comfortable that we can work as a team and really get through anything.
So you're fearless.
Yes.
Taylor Swift song, Fearless. You should listen to it. Well, I've told you this before, but I don't have any fears or hesitations, which is good considering I just married you. But at this point, the only fear I ever have is losing the wonderful life that we have. So I just need you to stay alive as long as possible.
I'll do my best.
That's it. That's all I have. I'm only excited. It's going to be great. What values do you think are most important for our marriage?
There's a lot of values that are important for a marriage, but for me, trust is one of the top ones. But even from the very beginning, I've always found it very comforting that you've put trust in me and I've put trust in you. And I have never hesitated to give you my cell phone PIN code, my ATM PIN code. I've just had absolute trust in Chelsea. And just yesterday, we added each other's face IDs to our phones so she can unlock my phone and I can unlock hers. Yeah. So I feel so comfortable in knowing that we have that trust in each other. There's also empathy, being able to put aside your personal opinions or feelings and put your partner's shoes on and walk around every once in a while. It's a Kill a Mockingbird reference. But having the ability to really feel what your partner's feeling and to put yourself in their shoes and just support them. And if they're looking for someone to listen to, having the ability to let you vent or tell a story and vice versa. And then I think there's forgiveness, because nobody is perfect and we've both made mistakes. But I think the most important part is that you learn from your mistakes, you talk about them, digest them, and then do your best to improve on that mistake. And I think that those values, if I were to name like the top 3 values, I think those would be my top 3 for marriage.
Yeah, I also had trust is a big one, which you covered, so we're good there. I also have honesty because that's really important to me. And I know that I can always be honest with you, even if it's hard to hear sometimes. And I know that you can always be honest with me, even if it's hard for me to hear. But I think it's important to always be honest. I mean, I guess sometimes you don't always, Phil will tell me if my breath smells. So I don't know if that's necessary, but,
That's honesty, okay?
but
Maybe you got something in your teeth.
yeah, that one is good. I mean, they're all good. I do need to know. I think honesty is really important, and that's part of the communication piece is that we can really be transparent with each other. I also have respect because I think respecting each other, and when I say that, I mean like, I have respect for you, you have respect for me, but also respecting each other's boundaries. And does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, having respect for each other and keeping that respect for each other and treating each other well, I think is really important. And I don't know what value this would be called, but I just had that. I think in a marriage, it's just continuing to show up for each other and always be there for each other, whatever that means. And it doesn't have to mean,
Accountability, maybe?
yeah, accountability. And also to not lose the magic of our relationship. I think that's something I want to keep throughout the marriage. I don't want to be all old and crotchety. I want to keep the magic alive. And that does not mean like we have to go on some crazy vacation or whatever. It just, my favorite time I spend with you is just eating pho at home, watching whatever TV show we're watching. And that keeps the magic alive for me. So whatever we can do to keep it alive. Yeah, those are my values. We're getting to the end here. So these are more fun questions. This one is, what's your favorite memory of us so far?
Well, there are a lot of great memories that we've had. I think the easy short answer is last week. Our wedding was a forever lasting memory. I will never forget that whole week, but specifically our wedding and sharing our vows and the people that were there. The wedding was just full of love and laughter, surrounded by everybody that we know and everybody that means something to us. That memory I will always remember. But I think for me, my favorite memories are the ones that don't end up in a photo or a video or even witnessed by anybody but us. The moments like this morning when we make coffee and we go sit outside and watch the hummingbirds and try to avoid the bugs.
Yeah.
Or every night when Paxton curls up on the couch with you and falls asleep. Or if we go for a hike and enjoy nature We're not always documenting every part of our lives, but I think it's the smaller memories that last for me. Because all of those smaller, seemingly insignificant memories are the ones that build onto themselves and create such a happy, lasting memory.
That's sweet, babe. I have a lot of favorite memories. It's really hard to choose just one. I do think the wedding is probably top tier memory, but really the whole week before the wedding too. And like preparing for the wedding together, and we did a lot of DIY wedding stuff, and Phil like was on a tractor mowing the lawn for the wedding. That's one of my favorite memories for sure.
I loved that. I hadn't mowed the lawn in forever, and I was just in my element.
Yeah, it was pretty hot. But I had a few that I wrote down. I mean, what I just feel like when we went to Sedona, I had such a good time with you, and we had like a long-ish weekend in Sedona, and we did it without our phones. Well, you had a phone for emergency purposes, but you weren't. We don't want to go hiking in Sedona with no phone at all. But as much as we could be not on our phones, and we were just fully present with each other, and it was gorgeous, and that's one of my favorite memories. And on that trip, we used to, like, our balcony had a view of the mountains, and we would lay out there every night and stargaze. And that's one of my favorite things to do with you. We'll do that just in the backyard too, and get that like app out that you have. And yeah, look at the stars. I also had when you proposed to me. That's one of my favorite memories because it couldn't have been more perfect for us. He took me to like this diner, right? You'd call it a diner.
It's a diner.
Yeah. And we had breakfast. I love diner food. And then we went antique shopping, and I love antique shopping. And then we put up Christmas decorations with packs. And then we watched Guardians of the Galaxy. And then he proposed to me. And it was just perfect. It was perfect. But I think I keep going forever and ever. But I do think every night before we go to bed is one of my favorite memories, which is every single night of our life. But it's when I don't know, it's just like we can connect with each other really well right before we go to bed and laugh and joke about the day. And sometimes we say what we're grateful for. And I don't know, that's one of my favorite parts of my day every day.
Me too. I was going to add that one in, but too many.
Yeah, there's too many. All right, I'm excited for this one. What quirky habit of mine do you find endearing? What is it?
Nothing. I was just trying to figure out how to put this into words, and I don't know if this is a quirky habit. I think it's I think it might just be who you are.
Okay.
One of my favorite things about you is that you have an interest in literally everything. Yeah. And everything that you touch turns to gold. Like, you can play the guitar, you can sing, you do pottery, art, flower arrangements, DJ, podcaster. You have such an eclectic range of things that you're into. You hike 2 times a week at least. Yoga. I mean, the list can go on and on. And I think that for me, that isn't really a quirky habit, but it's just all the things that you're into, and it makes you always busy, and you care for every one of those things equally onto the next one. And I think that that's one of the things that I find most endearing.
Thank you. I wouldn't say that the guitar is I turn into gold, but I can play it. But yeah, I do have a lot of interests and hobbies. Mine for you was that for some reason, when you cook food, you don't use a whole bag of, like, if there's a bag of green beans or potatoes, you'll leave like 5 potatoes and not cut them up. and then, and then there's just like 5 baby potatoes sitting on the counter for a while.
Well, just because you have a whole bag of flour doesn't mean you use it in every recipe.
Yeah, but flour stays good for a while. Like, when am I going to cook 5 potatoes? I don't know. But I do find it endearing. And I also had the way that you take off your socks. Because he like slides out of them like you're moonwalking or something. So
That's talent.
those are quirky habits you have. Yours for me was so sweet. This is the last question. Well, kind of. But if you could give advice to your single self about finding love, what would it be?
So I think my single self, what I would say would be to find out who you want to be yourself. And you have to love that version of you. There's a quote that I read all the time on Chelsea's vision board. And it says, if someone so great walks into your life, just know that that person will always be you. And that has resonated with me, as I think that that just goes to show your own personal growth and your mindset that you have as an individual will translate into the type of relationship that you will have. So before you try to meet the person that you'll always be with, do the work on yourself before finding someone. That could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So for me, it was getting healthy in every controllable aspect of my life, whether it be working out, going to therapy, because I think everyone could use some therapy in their lives. It's extremely helpful. Spending time alone. You need to learn how to be alone before you can be with someone. And getting all those pieces of my life together for when I do meet someone so that I'm the best version of myself that I can be. And the rest will take care of itself because what's meant to be will find you. And you got to be ready.
Yeah, I wrote down to learn to love yourself first, because that was something that my single self needed to hear. And it's something that I worked on, like Phil, like you said, working on yourself before finding someone. Because if, I don't know, everyone says that you have to love yourself before you'll find someone else. And I don't know if that's even necessarily true.
I just said that.
Yeah, but well, I guess they say it for a reason.
Yeah.
And I did have to learn to love myself. And I did fully love myself before I met you. And I fully accepted myself, because it's not like I'm perfect or anything, but I loved who I was and accepted who I was. And a large piece of that too, which would be advice for my single self, is that you deserve to be loved, like to have real love, because that wasn't something that I always believed, though I did before I met Phil. And I knew that I wouldn't accept anything less than the real thing and someone who was all of the qualities, that I was looking for. And I found that in you. So yeah, my advice would be to really, really learn to love yourself and do the work that it takes to get that done. I think therapy is huge. I think introspection, read a lot of books, but also be honest with yourself and acknowledge what it is that you need to work on before you meet someone. Yeah, and don't accept anything less than what feels like magic when it comes to love. Okay. Okay. Well, those are all the questions. Do you have anything to reflect on after all of that?
Well, I feel a lot less nervous than I did when I was saying my vows. I will say that. Although getting these emotions and feelings out has been really good. And not really rehearsing any of these questions kind of made me a little bit nervous. I did have you know a little bit of yeah, a little bit nervous.
Yeah, that's normal.
But no, I think that it was very nice.
Yeah, I liked. Well, I like hearing about how much you love me. That's always a fun experience for me. But yeah, I enjoyed preparing all of it, and I just love you so much.
I love you too.
Okay, now this is how we end every episode. So, what's making you cozy this week?
I think that's a pretty easy one for me,
Okay.
because I think that after the last week, there was a lot of, I wouldn't even say stress, but there was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And coming home and then eating pho that first night and then cleaning up. And then now we have perfectly clean house, and we've both been off work, so we've got to spend a lot of time together just relaxing or trying to relax. So I think my coziness this week is just being at home with you and feeling great in our space.
That's such a good one. That's better than mine. But all of that is making me cozy too, especially the pho. Pho is a good cozy recipe. What's making me cozy this week is that Anthropology dropped a bunch of like Halloween, fall, autumn themed cups and plates and I don't know, everything for the home. Candles. I saw them online and then we went to Anthropology in the store and they were everywhere. And I was just really, really, really excited because if a store is releasing autumn stuff, that means that fall is coming in 3 months. At least it's 3 months for us here in the desert. But anyways, it's still making me cozy because that means soon I will get to wear a sweater. And your love is making me cozy. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being on my podcast, husband.
You're welcome, wife.
Okay. Well, that's all I have for today. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And I will link all of my socials and my blog and my Instagram and my website and all of the things. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could please leave me a review and a rating, that would be very, very, very much appreciated. Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye.